Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 managers who lost the dressing room and ended up losing their jobs. 10. Jose Mourinho. It's strange that Jose Mourinho ultimately lost his second shot at the Chelsea job thanks to the players he'd made stars in the first place. The Portuguese ran his squad into the ground in the 2014-15 title-winning season, with 6 Chelsea footballers playing more than 90% of the minutes available in the Premier League. The following year, fatigue hit, and Chelsea spiralled down the division. They took only 11 points from their first 12 games, and had already lost 3 games by the end of September. To put it into context, they'd only lost 3 in the entirety of the previous campaign. Mourinho distanced himself from the players, and captain John Terry was unwilling to defend his coach, having suffered the indignity of a half-time substitution in a 3-0 loss to Man City. The Special One claimed he was betrayed by the squad, and by Christmas, he was gone. 9. Reinaldo Merlo. A former River Plate player, Reinaldo Merlo managed the Buenos Aires Giants twice, the second time coming in 2005. Despite a squad boasting Radamel Falcao, Gonzalo Higuain and Javier Mascherano, Los Millonarios could only finish 6th in the league, 12 points off the pace set by rivals Boca Juniors. Merlo faced a dressing room revolt, led by captain Marcelo Gallardo. The players, disappointed with their failure to challenge for the title, had no faith in the coach, and Merlo was quickly replaced with fellow club hero Daniel Pasarella. However, the sacking was a little harsh on Merlo, as even Diego Simeone couldn't stop River Plate getting relegated a few seasons later. They have since rebuilt, and in 2015 won the Copa Libertadores again, for the 3rd time in their history. Their coach for that season, former captain Marcelo Gallardo. 8. Claudio Ranieri. Before he joined Leicester, Claudio Ranieri had never won a top flight, though he had achieved promotion 8 times as a player and a manager, and his appointment at the King Power Stadium was seen as unimaginative. After all, he was 64 and hadn't lasted more than 2 years at a club since Chelsea in 2004. As it turned out, Ranieri was a brilliant motivator, squeezing the last dregs of talent out of a ramshackle squad, as Leicester averaged nearly 2 goals scored per game over the first half of the season, and conceded just 11 in the final 19 of the campaign. But with success came high expectation, and the following year the Foxes went into meltdown as Ranieri sought to build on their title win. Players were asked to train in the morning of an FA Cup tie, while Ranieri would tinker with tactics minutes before kickoff. Leicester fell to 1 point above the drop zone, and according to the Telegraph, the players felt that relegation was inevitable with Ranieri. The owners agreed, and Ranieri was sacked in February, 9 months after winning the title and 19 months after he was given the Leicester job, just below the average tenure of a Premier League manager, 1.8 years. 7. Egil Olsen. After a career spent entirely in his native Norway, British clubs came calling for Egil Olsen in 1998. Celtic tried to sign the coach, but Olsen's dog would have had to be quarantined while he was in Scotland, so his wife said no, and the Olsens joined Wimbledon instead. The Crazy Gang was the most violent side in England, quite a claim in the late 90s. Old-fashioned and short-tempered, the players didn't take well to Olsen's zonal marking system, nor to his disapproval of smoking. They went on to concede 74 goals in the league, nearly 2 a game, and lost 8 straight games in the second half of the season. A 3-0 defeat to fellow strugglers Bradford condemned Olsen to the sack and Wimbledon to the drop after a 13-year stay at the top flight. And to cap it all off, the players got into a fist fight in the dressing room as their unfortunate gaffer booked his tickets back to Norway. 6. Jim Magilton. After Ranieri got canned, the Italian was commended for his dignity in accepting the sacking. Jim Magilton was not so dignified. The former Ipswich Town star was onto a loser the moment he took over at QPR from the 2-time Champions League winner Paulo Sousa, lasting just 23 games at Loftus Road. The final straw was a 3-1 loss at Watford. In the aftermath of a 7th loss of the season, Magilton reportedly headbutted midfielder Akos Bujaki, yes you heard it, headbutted, who apparently went and hid in a portable toilet to avoid the coach. Magilton was obviously suspended and fired a few days later. Strangely enough, the Northern Irishman wasn't the only manager to nut a player that week. Tony Pulis gave James Beattie a full Zidane treatment in the changing rooms after Stoke lost 2-0 to Arsenal, and to make matters worse, get this, he was completely naked. Poor Beattie. 5. Vanderlei Luxemburgo. Brazilian coach Luxemburgo pitched up to the Bernabeu in 2005 with an incredible record in his homeland. Having managed every big team in the country, he won titles with Cruzeiro, Palmeiras, Santos and Corinthians, as well as a Copa America with the national side. Luxemburgo took over one of the most talented squads of all time, which nonetheless had gone 2 years without silverware, and his first action was to show Luis Figo the door, allowing the Portuguese legend a free transfer to Inter. Figo went on to win 4 successive titles in Italy, while Real lost 5 of their opening 12 matches and dropped to 15th in La Liga. A 3-0 loss to Barcelona piled on the pressure, and Luxemburgo finally wrote his own obituary during a 1-0 defeat to Getafe, when he replaced Ronaldo Nazario with Thomas Gravesen. The striker went to Florentino Perez, and Luxemburgo went to the job centre. 4. David Moyes. Poor old Moyes. What would you do if you were a mediocre manager and got the chance to take over one of the biggest clubs in the world? The Scot arrived at Old Trafford with an impossible act to follow in Alex Ferguson, arguably one of the greatest managers of all time, and unsurprisingly, Moyes flopped. It wasn't all his fault though. The squad was short of talent and had just lost Scholes for the second time, and had won the title the previous year largely through some Fergie witchcraft. Moyes had no such voodoo, and United slipped to 7th place and 64 points, 25 fewer than they'd had the previous campaign. The players decided to take action, and several stars, allegedly Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic, leaked their concerns to the press, claiming Moyes had shown them videos of Everton as examples of how he wanted the side to play. If only they'd managed it. The Toffees ended up finishing 5th place that year. 3. Ruud Gullit. A Ballon d'Or and 2-time European Cup winner, Ruud Gullit arrived at Newcastle in 1998 after a spell as a player-manager at Chelsea. The Blues were second in the league when the Dutchman got the can, and hopes were high for him and Tyneside. Gullit had no intention of doing his job quietly. He fell out with club captain Robert Lee, stripping him of the armband, giving his number 7 shirt to Kieran Dyer, and preventing Lee, an England international, from playing with the reserves. But stranger still was Gullit's dislike to Alan Shearer, who at this point had 139 goals in 186 Premier League games. The Dutchman tried to offload Shearer, and when no one matched his asking price, he benched the striker for a crucial derby against local rival Sunderland. Newcastle lost 2-1, and Gullit lost his job. 2. Brian Clough. As a player, Brian Clough bagged an insane 251 goals in 274 games, and as a coach, he expected similarly high standards. In 1974, he unexpectedly took a job as the coach of Leeds. Unexpectedly because he had recently called the club to be relegated, labelling their style of play as dirty and cheating. Clough's predecessor, Don Revie, had won 2 league titles with the Peacocks and left to take the England job, so Clough knew he had to put his mark on the dressing room. In his first training session, he told the players, "You can all throw your medals in the bin because they weren't won fairly," instantly making enemies of club stars like Billy Bremner and former Man United midfielder Johnny Giles. The players took their concerns to the board, and Leeds canned Clough, handing him £98,000 in severance pay. The decision was made easier by the coach's horrible record at Ellen Road. He won just 1 of his 6 games in charge. He went on to lift the European Cup twice with Nottingham Forest. 1. Stan Cullis. Wolverhampton Wanderers have finished in the English League's top 2 on 7 occasions, and each time Stan Cullis was either a player or a manager at the club. A defender capped 12 times by England, Cullis spent 7 seasons in the Wolves squad, losing 6 years to the Second World War, before becoming head coach in 1948. He went on to win 3 titles at Molineux, and in 1954 his team beat Hungary's Honvéd in a friendly, defeating legends like Sondor Kokshish and Ferenc Puskás, and unofficially being labelled champions of the world. But in 1961, the FA abolished the cap on footballers' wages, which at the time was £20 a week. Wolves stars such as Billy Wright demanded big pay rises, but Cullis refused, feeling it would undermine his authority. In 1964, Cullis spent some time away from the club for health reasons, and results faltered, with Wolves dropping to the foot of the league. Some of their senior players saw a chance, handed in their transfer requests, and unfortunately the board had to act. They sacked Cullis, who left Wolverhampton disillusioned with the game, turning down a job offer from Juventus.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. As usual, let us know what you thought in the comments below. And if you've liked that, why not check out the video that's on screen right now? Click it, it's a good one. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.